Howdy YouTube, Eznix here with a little video for you, an update of the Ezarcher project. I had spent the last month or so consumed with updating my Debian-based EznixOS project, and I figured it was time to get back to Ezarcher. I released about a week ago a set of ISOs and very quickly realized I wanted to include some documentation that I produced to help a fellow Arch user who liked my project but wanted to change the kernels to the Zen kernel. So I came up with a set of instructions for that person, and I tested them, and they've tested them, and the instructions work just fine. So I built a new set of ISOs just the other day with those instructions. So we're going to take a look at that. So if you've downloaded the Ezarcher ISOs that I put up on the 7th of September, it's now the 12th. I uploaded some ISOs I created on the 11th. Excuse the date, but just happened to work out that way. No particular meaning to it. So let's take a look over at the new installed ISO running in VirtualBox. We're going to head over to this screen here, and you can see the KDE edition is up and running. It's installed. It's been sort of tweaked, customized with the look and feel that I like. The icon set, the background, the plasma theme that I prefer. Very simple changes, dark theme, papyrus icons, and my own wallpapers. So nothing more special than that. However, let's look at the documentation that now comes with this system. So if we open up the docs folder in Ezarcher, there is a new text file, change kernels .txt. So let's open that with Kate, and hopefully you can see the text here. I'll read off the important bits. It's really how to make a change to the build process to include the kernel you want, using the Linux Zen kernel as the example. Now, your options are only limited by what's available in the Arch repositories. You can't really, at least easily with my script, include your own kernels. Now, there probably are ways to do that. I don't know. I stick to the LTS kernel. Some people like the Zen kernel. Some people prefer the regular standard kernel. You can take these instructions and change from the LTS, which is my default, to whichever kernel you prefer. I think there's also a hardened kernel as well. So I think you have 4 choices from the standard Arch repositories. So it's really just following these steps. There are 6 primary sections of the build process to be concerned with. It's the package list, listed in the file packages.x8664. You're going to change the defaults from the Linux LTS and Linux LTS headers file to whichever kernel you prefer, in this case Linux Zen and Linux Zen headers. You're going to look in the grub folder in the build folder, and there are 2 files, grub CFG and loopback CFG. Sorry about that. My lips and my tongue did not want to agree with me. So the defaults are VM Linux-LTS and initramfs linux-lts.img. Those are the defaults. In both grub CFG and loopback CFG, change any and all references to the kernel you want. In this case, VM Linux Zen and initramfs linux-zen.img. In the bootloader folders, EFI and syslinux, you're going to do the same thing. There are 2 files in each of the folders. So look in EFI loader entries. You will see 01 Arch ISO, blah, blah, blah. make any changes to your kernel there, as well as 02 ArchISO, blah, blah, blah. Make any changes to your kernel there. Next, you're going to look in syslinux, and the files archiso syslinux.cfg and archiso.pxe linux.cfg. Change all references to the kernel you desire, VM Linux, Linux, Zen, and initramfs, Linux, Zen in this example. Change all default references in the folder etc mkinitcpio.d. There are two files there, it looks like, the ezmkinit file and the linux-lts.preset file. You're going to make your changes there to the kernel you wish. Also, you'll rename the linux-lts.preset file to the kernel you choose, in this case, linux-zen.preset. Lastly, you're going to look in the Calamares settings in the modules folder. So go into etc Calamares modules and change the three files in there listed. The initcpio.conf file, change to Linux Zen in this case. The shell process mvezmkinit.conf file, change LTS to Zen, and the unpackfs.conf file. You're changing both references of linux-linux-lts to vmlinux-linux-zen. Once you make all those changes, you are pretty much set. Your build will contain the kernel you've chosen, and the installed system will have the kernel that the live build you have chosen is using. Really pretty simple. There are a lot of little files to change, but you're doing the same changes. You're making sure that the packages are installed that you want, that the grub and EFI and syslinux bootloader files are all in alignment with the kernel you're choosing. You're making sure that the mkinitcpio.d files are in alignment with the kernel you are choosing. And you're making sure that Calamares settings references the kernel you are choosing. It's really not complicated. All this really can be gathered by looking at the files and folders in the build folder. So let's take a moment and minimize that. Let's take a template, and we'll go with the KDE one for now. So let's copy this to the home folder, paste, and extract. Where is extract? There it is. Extract here. Okay. And we can quickly go through these as well. I did it verbally with the text file up, but you're going to change the packages file. And look for the Linux kernel, which is right here, and look for the Linux headers, which is down here. Make those changes, save the file. Pretty simple. Let's go back to the folder. You're going to look in the grub folder, change the contents in grub CFG and loopback CFG. Another reason I respun the ISOs so quickly and uploaded them and swapped them out is because I noticed a little error in my own loopback.cfg file. So if you have an older ISO, you can look in that file and see one of the kernel references reference VM Linux, not VM Linux-LTS. So I want to correct that. It seems to not affect, or in the years I've been doing this, hasn't affected the build, the ISOs, the booting, anything, but I want it to be consistent and correct. So if you notice that, that's why the ISOs were changed so quickly this time. You're then going to look in the bootloader files for EFI loader entries, make your changes in here. These files are a little, actually, no, they're not complicated. They're pretty easy. You're going to make your changes right here in both files. You're then going to look in the syslinux folder and make your changes in the ArchISO syslinux.cfg as well as ArchISO pxe linux.cfg. Same changes. Lastly, you're going to look, well, not lastly. Next, you're going to look in the mkinit cpio.d folder, make your changes in this file, a couple different sections to make your changes in, and make your changes in this file. You can rename the comments too, and then rename this file to match the kernel you're actually using. So in the example, it would be linux-zen.preset. And now lastly, you're going to look in the Calamares folder in the modules, change the initcpio.conf file, change the shell process mvezmkinit.conf file, and the unpackfs.conf file. It's all spelled out right here. So that is the whole point of this video, is to explain and announce why the new ISOs are up, what new feature is in the ISOs, and hopefully people can feel more confident in making changes, especially the kernel changes in the Ezarcher build process. So hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you got something out of it. I thank the person who asked me for this assistance. Now, this isn't something that I would normally just jump at, but it was a good question. And hopefully seeing the nature of all the changes to be made to accomplish a kernel swap or kernel change in the Ezarcher builds makes it a little more comfortable for people to go in and make changes, what they want, what they don't want. So I hope you enjoyed the video. That's it, folks. Take care, stay safe, have fun, and you'll see me in another one. Bye-bye.